John Michaels hosts mornings on 680 The Fan in Atlanta, but the dude is the biggest Hurricanes fan alive, grew up here in South Florida, has season tickets for Hurricanes football, even though he only makes it to one or two games since he's up in Atlanta. And he's on the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. Shop hundreds of Toyotas indoors in one of America's largest showrooms at Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan. And by the way, when we talk football, a reminder, Caneswear in Davie. I was there yesterday. You can get all geared up for the season. Canes, Dolphins, even Inter Miami, Marlins stuff. Visit the store, University Drive, or check out caneswear.com. I'm guessing, John, you're not coming Friday, right? Friday night against Miami of Ohio. You probably can't make it out after your show.
No, I could make it, but I'm saving the good graces of the wife for the following week because I will be down for Texas A&M. So I'll be in the man cave downstairs watching the game, the Battle of Miami, they call it. It's a damn joke that they're even calling it that. One school is in a conference that is known for nothing, and the other one is the University of Miami. So whatever little Gabbert, your brother was a bust, and we're going to bust you in the mouth coming up on Friday night.
Coming out of the box.
And John, it's a win. And if they don't win this one, bro, you're in trouble. But is a win just a win, or does this need to be an ass whooping?
No, it needs to be an ass whooping. After what happened last year, and I tried to erase last year out of my memory. It was a year that made me really rethink about being a football fan because it sucked. It sucked every way around. But when I read that we lost our last 5 home games, and we were outscored like 205 to 80 or something like that, I said, Mario needs to come out and make an example out of Miami of Ohio because you beat them 24-17, it's going to feel like a loss. You beat them 31-24, it's going to feel like a loss. This needs to be 41-10. This needs to be 42-17, somewhere in there. I need to see Jakari Brown get some snaps. I might need to see Emory Williams get some snaps. I need to see freshmen getting out there. This needs to be old school. First game of the year, bringing a Scribini from the north, bring them down there and smack them in the mouth. That's what needs to happen because then you can go into Texas A&M the week later and start to feel like, hey, maybe this could be a turn the corner type game. So, yeah, it needs to be an ass whooping from the word go.
I don't know if I feel that confident, though, about it. Even when Crowder said it's a win, Middle Tennessee still rings very recent in my mind. And I'm with you. You've gotta show something. We had Twan Russell on Monday, John, and I said, you've got to see significant improvement, right, this season under Mario. But I don't even know what I don't know what see significant improvement or what. But there is no or what. There's no plan B. There's too much money tied up in this. So I am a little trepidatious about Friday. Not about win or loss, but about what you're saying needs to happen.
And I think that's because we're still living in last year. Last year was an unmitigated disaster. I lived through the probation year. I lived through Randy Shannon's first year where we were 5-7. I think Manny's first year we went 6-7 and lost to FIU. Last year was worse than all of those. The probation team would have beat the ever-loving crap out of last year's quitting-ass Miami Hurricanes football team. They would have beat the hell out of them because that team had freshmen in Ed Reed and guys like Edgerrin James, players like that who actually had heart and wanted to be there. I think the biggest thing you need to see, wins and losses, that we'll get to, I'm sure, later on in this segment. But I think more than anything, it just needs to be a fight that seemed to disappear from Miami a year ago. A year ago, that team laid down and took it from everybody. They turned into Mia Khalifa is basically what they were on the football field. They just took it.
Wasn't expecting for a Mia Khalifa reference. Boy, John, I love you.
Not where I would have gone with that, but we all understand what he's saying.
We do. And John, you're talking, and Hawk does it. I give him hell about it. Y'all are talking about the good old days where you come out and score 70, the other team gets a late field goal, and that's what it was. Brand new offensive coordinator, brand new defensive coordinator. I know you know a lot more about Shannon Dawson and Lance Guidry. Mm-hmm. Are they built like that? Are their offense and defense is built to have a 70-3 game?
Shannon Dawson comes from the Dana Holgerson tree, so he wants to throw it around. Clayton Tune a year ago in Houston's offense had 40 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. They had a kid named Nathan Dell, little tiny receiver, 5'8". I want to say he had over 100 catches a season ago. So, yeah, they want to go tempo. They want to get the ball out in space. They want to get it to playmakers. So that type of offense can score points if the big uglies up front can protect, and I think we can with some of the additions that we've had. And Lance Guidry a year ago had the number 4 defense in the country at Marshall. Remember, they shut Notre Dame down. Not that Notre Dame was any great offense, but Notre Dame's supposed to be able to go, have a home game against Marshall and dial up whatever score they want to do. Lance Guidry's defense was able to line up, punch Notre Dame in the mouth. They came up with a bunch of turnovers, so much so that Tyler Buckner, who's now in Alabama, lost his job about halfway through that game. They brought in Drew Pine. So I think it's new blood. It's fresh approach. Obviously, Josh Gaddis was a square peg in a round hole, and it did not work at all offensively. Get back to trying to be aggressive. Get back to trying to dictate to teams what you want to do instead of letting them dictate to you. So I think those two guys should be additions. I think they should make the team better. I do like that you don't have an opener against, like, I'm glad A&M's not this week, and you get to have one game to kind of warm up. Not that Miami of Ohio is a complete slouch, but it's the type of game you should win in the opener. And then with the heat that everybody's been getting in the South, you'd like to think a team from Oxford, Ohio is going to come down there and melt inside Hard Rock Stadium, put them on the side where the Buffalo Bills whine and complain about all the time, and then go out and kick their ass coming up on Friday night.
You know, Crowder talks about, we live in the past, and we Hurricanes do that because there's something special about it. Did you see what happened with Deion Sanders kind of disavowing his relationship with FSU yesterday?
Oh, it was hilarious. The crybaby Florida State fans that are on there saying we should unretire his number. We should give it to a punter. Do you realize that's the greatest player you guys have ever had? I mean, it's hilarious. And part of that is they hired Mike Norvell instead of Deion Sanders. Is Deion a little bit butthurt? Of course he is. Any other time he would have proudly said he was a Seminole. But it's funny. I realized he went and got Michael Irvin to give a motivational speech at Colorado and not one of his former Florida State teammates. I wonder why that is. And that's because he's a graduate of Talladega College, as he told everybody yesterday. That's one of the funniest things I've seen. We played that like 6 times this morning, just to rile up the Florida State fans that are in Atlanta.
Do you think, though, that the Hurricane football fan base is different than most major college football programs? Do we hold our we because we live in the past? What is it?
I think part of it is we had such an unbelievable run. There's only a handful of schools in the country in the history of college football that had a run like Miami did from 83 through 2002. You could say Alabama currently, and their fans are just as annoying as I'm sure Miami fans are to a lot of people around the country. USC had a nice run, although it wasn't quite what the Canes did. Florida State did. I give them credit where it's due. You finished top 5 for 14 straight years. You have reasons to brag. But ours was so special. And it's not just the special of winning 5 titles and getting robbed out of a couple of more and losing a couple of more on top of that. It's what our players were able to do in a style that had never been seen before. We grew up in South Florida, Hoch, in that time. College football was, you wore your sweater and you ran student body right. And we had the band at halftime, and it was boring and it was generic and it was everything else. And Miami came in and said, the hell with it. We're going to wear loop bandanas. We're going to have girls shaking their rear ends on the sidelines. We're going to punch you in the face. We might have some bounties out. We may do things in color outside the lines, but we're going to win. We had kids with gold teeth. We had kids with gold chains, things that did not exist in the 80s. And I think it changed what college football was. And it wasn't just the style. It was the substance. It was a passing offense that modernized college football. It was Jimmy Johnson bringing a 4-3 defense that nobody had ever really run to that, where he had linebackers to DNs, DNs to D tackles, and just speed all over the field. Everybody emulated what we did. Even when we weren't good, the chain is something that everybody emulated. Our turnover prop was cool. Florida State had a purse. We had people with an axe. We had people with a chainsaw. But everybody wanted a version of our turnover prop, which was the turnover chain. Miami's always been innovators. And the problem over the last 20 years, outside of the turnover chain, the only thing we've innovated is embarrassing losses on TV. And I hope Mario's the guy that finally gets it back to that old school where we work our ass off Monday through Friday, and Saturday the games become easy.
And I would also add to that, and I'm a Gator, but the Gators have 2 Hall of Famers. I think y'all have 9 or 10 at a small private university in Coral Gables. Like, you're right. You changed football. You changed swagger football. And the guys that played at UM went on to become Hall of Famers at the next level. I just think I'll give y'all props is due. It was a different level of the time y'all loved back then. It was a different level of football y'all were playing.
Preach, Brother Crowder.
Yeah, and it sucks, Channing, because that's not there anymore. Like, we had a fantasy football draft for the Falcons yesterday, and the guys I'm with are all like, well, we got to get a cane. I go, what the hell are we going to get? David Njoku is about the only draftable offensive player at this point. I don't think Frank Gore has any eligibility left in fantasy football. And
Lou Hedley.
When you add, we get Lou Hedley. I don't know how many points a punter is going to score for you.
Lou Hedley.
Yeah, you think about it. Think about this for a second. You just said 9 or 10. You've got Andre Johnson, who is going to be a Hall of Famer. Reggie Wayne will absolutely be a Hall of Famer. Devin Hester will 100% be a Hall of Famer. Frank Gore is going to be a Hall of Famer. Then you could argue that maybe potentially Jimmy Graham, Greg Olson, Calais Campbell, all 3 of them will get plenty of votes to potentially become Hall of Famers. When it's all said and done, Miami will have the most Hall of Famers of any school in the modern era. They will pass Notre Dame. They'll pass USC. That's how great that run was. And that's why I think we all clamor year in and year out when it comes to this time of the year to just be back in that conversation.
I hope it starts Friday. It starts Friday, but I hope that starts Friday. John Michaels, 680 The Fan in Atlanta. Follow him on Twitter, John Michaels U. And again, Canes game Friday. You can hear it right here on 560 QAM. Thank you, John. Hopefully we are speaking in a very upbeat fashion after the game next week. We'll talk to you then.
Absolutely. And next week, I already talking to Solana, I better see one of the 2 of you at the Texas A&M game. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Crowder's representing our show for that one. I'm going Friday night. I'm going to the Miami. I go when the traffic is a little bit lighter, when it's easier to park.
There you go.
Crowder will chopper in. He's got the pivot chopper. I'll be in and out.
They tried to jump me last time I went to a Canes game.
Well, just play the audio of what you just said. I mean, you've got carte blanche at that stadium. All right, we'll see you, John.
Absolutely. All right, guys.